And we're back with some more Minotaur Hotel. I know some of you are quite anxiously waiting for password and stuff like that. I will be getting back to them. Yeah, I had to take a break for personal reasons the past week or so. I'm not going to go into detail, but if you ever played the indie game Don't Disturb, you'll pretty much know what I've been dealing with. Yeah, and that's the reverse of mine. So I didn't want to do anything too heavy, and I'm actually feeling really bad for Dave at the moment. I'm kind of understanding what he's going through. So I wanted to go back to this, and I think Howley's bringing out the new Adast Republic update in a few days, so we'll get that done. And then there will be more Tennis Ace and definitely more Password. I just need a little time to get myself back into the swing of things. So we thought we'd get on with this. There is a new build in the works for Minotaur Hotel, so we'll have some newer stuff coming out after this. No, don't worry. But until then, let's just carry on where I left things off last time. Our MC is just falling asleep. The doorknob clicks behind Asterion. His smile persists as he holds on to the warmth from this night. The Minotaur's cheeks hurt from smiling, an unfamiliar sensation after the decades locked away. His throat, too, is sore from talking. Whatever he tries to say only comes as a raspy croak now. His recovering body surprises him at times. How it doesn't hurt to move anymore, how quick he is even at a slow pace. This renewed strength surprises him. He had a difficult time handling the fragile glasses and small, delicate tools back in the lounge. Similarly, closing the door without slamming it behind him just now was tricky. And yet, now he's alone in his room. There is silence. And a silence like this, after any night when one's cheeks end up hurting from smiling, is as oppressive as being whisked away from paradise. Silence can be unforgivable. The master's voice and breathing, the slight shift in furniture as he moved around the room, the sounds of his own hoofsteps. It's all gone. There are no eyes watching him. Nothing to say or do in this barren bedroom. He lays on his bed looking up to the ceiling. The bedroom has no windows, just a single light bulb shining overhead. Asterion swishes his tail. The tuft of hair at its end provides him with a single sound. He clutches his pillow beneath his head. His fingers contort into shaking fists and the light imprints a stain on his eyes. The corners of his healed mouth hurt. It's been decades since he smiled this much. Left alone, there are no distractions from dark thoughts. About that master, and all humans for that matter. Humanity is a sentence by itself, he thinks. If you're only half human and to be ruled over by those I'll never be like. The Minotaur wonders how large is the gap that keeps men from going wild. It is easy to show goodness at first, like Clement did, but eventually they grow bored. And bored men are dangerous indeed. How long will it take for this master to learn, the Minotaur wonders. It usually starts simple enough. At first he becomes their plaything, a doll. But it won't stop there. Humans seek new thrills often. Clement was a special case, a man who started out good but went wild like none before. But yes, there were many masters who had that same seed in them, only it germinated slower. Even Master Jean-Marie had it to an extent. There was that time. Asterion jolts up, stopping himself from regressing down that road. There are thoughts too dark for such a late hour. What does it matter now, thinking about the well-buried dead? His mind goes back to the current master. A single good night does not make up for a terrible past and a frightening future. Asterion thinks back to Argos and his contract, and how the master handled it. Master Leo argued with the snake, tried contesting its terms. The Minotaur knows well the fine balance that comes to the masters. Someone too innocent may be tricked by the snake, but a lord too witty is dangerous in his own right. The hotel has great power, and it's a miracle even the most cruel masters only used it for their own hedonism, as opposed to bringing harm to the world outside. The Minotaur keeps thinking himself to exhaustion, analysing every possibility regarding this new master. He does not notice drowsiness setting in, nor sleep's merciful embrace. The Minotaur dreams. A field of white flowers swayed under a chilly breeze. He was lying face down on the soil, and the flower stalks and leaves tickled his back as if trying to rouse him from sleep. The soil was damp and smelled of petrichor and dense vegetation. Asterion caressed it, scratched it, felt the sand's water seeping into his fur. Everything hurt. With every heartbeat his head and eyes were hammered. His whole body burned in exhaustion, dizzy and nauseous. Above all, his neck. It burned as if a searing hot metal wire strangled him. The Minotaur tried breathing, but as if his lungs couldn't pull in any air. It would have made him despair were it not for the overwhelming pain distracting him. Time passed. How long he could not tell. Asterion had only the soil, damp and aromatic, and the flowers swaying above him. He dug into the loamy ground. The coarse texture slipping around his fingers made the pain bearable. And then, a chill ran from his skull down his spine into the tip of his tail. Breathed a lungful of air, and he could hear his own ragged grunts of relief. The Minotaur flicked his ears as his full senses returned. The swaying wind, he could hear it again now alongside the rustling leaves. He propped his chest up, supporting himself on his burning forearms, and taste came back to him. Iron. He coughed, and cold, dark blood poured out of his mouth, fell on the white fur of his hand. His tongue remained coated in the black oil. It was bitter, tasting like a forge's fumes smelled. He knew this scent well. As he tried to gather himself, the blood dripped down to the soil. His fur remained matted with red while the dark oil dripped down. Cursed blood, he thought. But something else came to mind as well, the chill that brought him back. It was under his tongue, a hard, icy lump. He tried to spit it out to no avail. His insides lurched and he lost control. He retched, but nothing would come out. It was another hour before he managed to stand up and see the horizon. There was no sky above, only sharp-edged rocks pointing down like knives. The horizon itself was painted with serpentine rivers, their waters crashing around and leaving foamy trails. The land was dark, and yet light seemed to seep from all surfaces. The ceiling stalactites shone with turquoise. The field of flowers blinked with white lights when the breeze blew by. The soil itself shone with subdued, almost royal purple, and the breeze had a freshness to it. The river's crashing waters filled the air with little droplets. Water dripped here and there from the ceiling with an almost lazy grace, like a god slipping gifts to the people below from above. A man waited by the river's shore, looking up to the Minotaur. He beckoned, and right there Asterion's mind was set at ease. This beautiful land was his mercy. The knot in his throat and the lump under his tongue would be the final pains he'd ever feel. He'd been freed. You wake up to the sound of Asterion's hooves clicking on the wooden floor right behind you.
Good morning, Master. I am sorry for the noise. It was not my intention to wake you.
Snuggled up on the couch with a blanket covering you, it's easy to ignore the Minotaur's words. Were it not for the sunlight shining directly on your eyes and the smell of breakfast, you would have fallen back asleep. You peel yourself away from your blanket's warmth. You give Asterion a dopey smile as you step up and neatly fold the blanket before leaving it on the couch.
I slept very well, thank you, Asterion. Oh, that is a relief. Well, I went ahead and made breakfast for you.
At times it is easy to forget how exceptional are circumstances you find yourself in. Waiting for breakfast is such a mundane thing, but all it takes is a glimpse of Asterion for the facade of normalcy to fall. It's easy to find Asterion's quick healing jarring, more so than the hotel itself. It already stretches the clothes that seemed too big yesterday. I see the shirt fits you better. Do you like it?
Oh yes, I very much appreciate the gesture, Master. There wasn't much left in my wardrobe, save from my old clothes when Jean-Marie was my master in an old perizoma.
You recall what a perizoma is from your classical art studies. It's no surprise that Asterion is an old-fashioned guy and is wearing a 1500 BC style loincloth under his pants. Oh, no need to be embarrassed. I'm glad you like the shirt enough to wear it again.
Perhaps it is fitting that I have more modern clothes to wear. Today might be a special day. Now that the hearth is lit, guests may find their way to the hotel again. Well, I want to make a good impression. Well, maybe the clothes I picked are inappropriate. I wouldn't know. It has been a long time, after all. What should I wear today, then?
So, we have the options here. I think we're going to go with what he's wearing. I think he looks good with that. Asterion seems curious about his new clothes. He looks at the pattern on the shirt, runs his hand through the fabric of his blue jeans, and adjusts his tail to peek through a hole below the belt.
Oh, I've seen this fabric before. Oh, let me think. I believe I saw it on a miner from America. He had lost his home after the Wall Street crash and found his way here. His pants seemed sturdier despite being worn from work. Is this fabric common nowadays, Master?
Yes, very much. Pretty much everyone has at least one pair of jeans now.
Now isn't that a funny turn of events? I remember those garments were looked down upon back then. It's always amusing when working class clothes become fashionable even among aristocrats. Well, I've seen it happen a few times.
Asterion looks at the pattern on his shirt.
Meandros.
Yes, I found it fitting. It makes you look a little like a geometric period vase. On second thought, I hope it doesn't bring up bad memories of staying in the labyrinth.
Not at all. Well, if I have any grudge with the symbol, it's that the Athenians made it popular. But I do find it comforting. Brings back memories. I appreciate it, Master. If we get guests today, I expect this won't look intimidating for them. You've made a fine choice, Master. Now that this matter is settled, I shall interrupt your breakfast no more, Master.
You begin your meal. Asterion sits at the other end of the table, occasionally inspecting his appearance. When you look up from your plate, you catch him grooming his fur here and there. Once you're done, Asterion bows and takes your plate. As he carries it to the kitchen, you see him pick at some of the scraps and eat them. A short while later, he returns.
Do I have the Master's permission to go down and inspect the hearth? I want to make sure everything in the hotel is working properly.
Let's go with him.
Really?
Yes, I mean, if we're having guests, maybe I should help with the inspections, see where everything is and all.
Well, very well. Please follow me.
The light plays through the verdant leaves above, casting flickering shadows along the forest path. To either side, trees sway in the light breeze, whispering their secrets to each other and the traveller passing under their mighty boughs. The dragon hums a quiet, simple tune to himself, his deep rumbling bass a counterpoint to the rustling of the leaves above. Through his travels during these long, lonely years, he's come to appreciate the sounds of the world around him. He's learned how to tune himself into them, letting them flow around him like the river from which he was born. They are his companions, constant and dependable. They fill the silence. They bring peace to his mind and heart during his long, seemingly endless search. As he walks, his humming trailing off as the wind dies down, he reaches into the bag slung over one shoulder and pulls out a plastic bottle of water. His deft clawed fingers quickly unscrew the cap, and he tips it back to let the life-bringing substance pour into his waiting maw. It never ceases to amaze him how many conveniences like this had popped up over the years. When he first started his journey in the land of his birth, clean, fresh water like this was an almost sacred commodity. Something to be rationed out and stretched to the last little drop. Now it could be bought at a pittance. His thoughts turned to the young man at the store in the small town he'd left earlier that morning, who'd insisted on packing his bag full of water bottles and snacks for the road. Richard was his name, and he was the co-owner, along with his wife, of the hiking supplies outpost where the dragon had spent the last few days. He worked and they provided food and shelter. That was the agreement, similar to ones he'd struck all along the winding road behind him. And when the time had come for him to leave, as it always did, Richard had shaken his hand and patted his shoulder and wished him farewell like an old friend. A cherished friend. And yet, Richard was blissfully unaware of the simple fact his guest was not human. The charm he kept hidden maintained a disguise of humanity. Gretchen, Richard's wife, and better half, the man had always said with a wide grin, had fussed over the dragon. A nice pair of hiking boots would do better than the old worn sandals on his feet, she'd argued. The dragon had only laughed. They'd done more than enough for him, and both his gratitude and his blessing, before leaving the two of them waving from the door of the shop. He hadn't looked back to them. He never did. The dragon shakes himself out of his thoughts, caps his water bottle and drops it in his bag. He has no time for reverie. By the shadows on the ground, it looks to be somewhere around late afternoon. He has far longer to walk before the day is done. His name is Kota, and he is a drifter. However, his travels are far from aimless. The dragon is searching for something dear to him that was lost a long time ago. As Kota wanders along the path, listening to the soft sounds of nature all around, his ears begin to pick up a quiet, familiar noise. As familiar as his own breathing. A river. Before he can stop them, his feet take him to the source of the sound. He leaves the trail behind, slipping through the undergrowth and leaping over fallen logs with the sinuous agility that belies his size. Finally, the trees give way to the sight of a winding, burbling stream. It's shallow, but Kota doesn't mind. He steps out of his sandals and takes a seat on the riverbank to slip his tired feet into the rushing water. It's warm. Oh, so warm. Old, half-forgotten instincts fill his breast, making the dragon's breath hitch in his throat. It's been so long since he'd had a proper bath in a warm river like this, and the need to feel the water's embrace itches over his scales and pricks at the far corners of his languid mind. His yukata, worn and smelling faintly of sweat and road dust, comes off first. Kota picks up the tune he was humming earlier as he folds the garment in his lap, over and over into a nice neat bundle, and then carefully set aside on the soft grass. The dragon looks around for a moment, ensuring he's completely alone, and then winds his fundushi from around his hips with the same practiced grace. Sorry for breaking the mood here, but I just noticed what you posted there. Well done, guys. Back to the story. Sorry about that. He knows full well there's no shame in his nudity, but centuries of wandering the new world have allowed modern sensibilities and modesty to rub off on him. None of it is helped by this age's laws. There was a time when creatures like him were free to plainly wander the world of men. Nowadays there are consequences to breaking the secret. Kota can't help a quick, shameful thrill down his spine as he bears himself, even with no one else around to see him. Nonetheless, he keeps his clothes nearby, so he's within the charm's range. With a soft grunt and a half hop, the dragon slips into the warm, flowing waters of the river. As soon as the waters touch his scales, his muscles relax and he sinks waist deep into the river. The low sigh escapes his lips in a slow, lazy exhalation, and his maned head falls back to rest on the riverbank. He hadn't realised how bone-deep weary he'd become. But now, with the rushing waters caressing and embracing him, peace stills his mind for the first time in centuries. The warm currents feel familiar, like an old friend, an old lover, welcoming him to a home he'd left behind long ago. As he lounges against the riverbank, feeling the hard, smooth pebbles beneath and the swirling, flowing river enfolding him, Kota grasps at that familiarity. He allows his mind to wander, along with his hands. Over his shoulders and across his chest, his claws picking at the ridges between his scales. Down to his belly, across his sides and hips, his thighs. As his pensive thoughts sink into the warm haze of his meditation, a finger brushes the soft scaled lips of the slit at the dragon's crotch. As it slips inside, teasing the sensitive inner flesh, that finger becomes someone else's, someone from long ago. You can almost feel their breath on his ear, hear the low rumble of their purring voice. Kota's heart flutters along with his eyelids as the fingertip within him brushes against the spot that makes his toes curl and his breath hitch in his throat. The slow, gentle caress of the river waters of his home isn't the only thing the dragon has longed for all these years. He can feel the flesh within, the hidden length of his manhood stir into his thoughts, the desire, the need. With a long sigh, Kota reluctantly draws his finger out of himself and moves his hand back to his stomach. He rubs over his body up to his chest, to his neck. A half-remembered poem flickers through the dragon's mind as his hands scrub away the dust and sweat of his journey. I like to wash the dust of this world in the droplets of dew. With dewdrops dripping, I wish somehow I could wash this perishing world. His breath gets out of his nostrils, his hands fall to his side. The river takes over, stroking his scales and limbs with its current, its comfort a pale echo what the dragon longs for. Won't you come and see loneliness? Just one leaf from the kiri tree. Basho, right? Kota's eyes snap open as his head turns. He didn't hear anyone approach, and yet there stands a man by the tree line. Sorry to sneak up on you like that. You don't mind some company, do you? Sounds like you could use it. No, I don't mind at all. Please. The dragon schools its face into a welcoming smile and gestures the man forward with a languid wave. For a moment, Kota is worried his nakedness might embarrass his impromptu guest. The man settles comfortably on the riverbank nearby. The dragon scoots closer to his discarded clothes. Sorry again. I've been walking all day and my feet are killing me. The stranger kicks his shoes off with a long sigh and then slips his feet into the water, much like Kota did earlier, downstream from the dragon, which makes Kota smile as he gives the man a nod. Oh, believe me, I do not blame you at all. I myself have only stopped you for a moment's rest. Oh, it's a nice place that you found, even if it's only to rest for a moment. Where are you headed from here, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, here and there. I'm more of a wanderer, you see. And you, The dragon looks the stranger with a polite but expectant expression. Oh, in my new clothing, I feel so different. I must look like someone else. Ah, fellow Fanamatsuo Sensei's works, I see. That's all right. My friends call me Jean. I was making a delivery, but I got just a little bit lost. The man rubs at the back of his head with an embarrassed laugh, and Kota lets out a soft chuckle. But it's when we are lost that we are most easily able to find ourselves. Of course, it's easier when we have some help. Well, I'd be glad to lead you back to the road, John-san. Thank you, Mr. Sumimasen. I am Kota. Well, it's good to meet you, Kota, and your help would be really appreciated. The man offers his hand with a wide smile, and Kota turns to take Jean's hand as he's grown used to doing with everyone he meets. However, he can't stop himself from giving Jean a short half bow from his sitting position. Pardon me if I'm assuming, but you're from Japan, yes? Hi, that's right. It's been a long journey from the lands of my home, but I have enjoyed the wandering. It is marvellous to see new sights, is it not? More like this river. The dragon gestures the idyllic landscape surrounding them, the rushing, chuckling water and the wind through the trees singing a soft, gentle song. The large boughs overhead providing shade while allowing diamonds of sunlight to sparkle on the flowing surface of the river. The cool grass on the river's edge. I made my home in such an unspoiled river long ago. Untarnished nature holds special significance to me. You and I may be the only ones to have seen this place in years. See how untouched it is. Smell the freshness of the air. Jean laughs. Well, you're certainly passionate, Kota. That's always good to see in a fellow traveller. I'm from Europe myself. Even there, places like this are becoming a rarity, sadly. But there's still so much to see. It's why I became a delivery man, you see. I guess you could say that the wanderlust is in my blood. Well, it seems you too are a long way from home, Jean-San. Well, I'm sure you've gathered many stories in your journeys from place to place. Oh yes, more than enough for several lifetimes. I could tell you some of them while we walk, if you're ready to get going. The dragon rises to his feet, and the water flows down and off his body like a silken robe. With a groan, Kota stretches, then climbs back up onto the riverbank, completely dry. Allow me a moment to get dressed, and then I'll be prepared. And if you'd like, I have quite a few stories of my own travels I can share with you as well. Sure, I'd like that very much. The two exchange glances and nods. A spark of understanding and acceptance flickers between Kota and Jean, the understanding of two fellow travellers sharing the road with each other. As the two men walk side by side, their conversation and laughter fills the air. Jean relates the story of a particularly difficult delivery up the side of a mountain, a trip that took the better part of 3 days. In return, Kota tells the man of all the places he's been and the sights he's seen. Forests much like this one, cities and towns both ancient and modern. Even that one time with the rock slide. Now that was quite the adventure. Jean laughs as he claps the dragon on the shoulder. Amazing, you're a really well-versed traveller, aren't you? Well, I've been on the road for so long it has nearly become my home. Oh, I know how that feels. Sometimes when I'm on deliveries, it feels like the only thing I've ever known. Wait. The man's expression shifts as he looks around. Finally his eyes light up in recognition. Oh, so that's how I got turned around. I think I can find my way from here, Kota. Thank you very much for your help. It was no trouble at all, Jean-San. However, before you go... You want to ask me something, don't you? Am I that easy to read? In any case, have you ever encountered, well, something that couldn't be explained? What do you mean by that? Well, it was quite a while ago. Back in Nyon, I once encountered something most peculiar during my travels. I've been looking for it ever since. It may sound impossible, but... From a spring of warm water, I saw something extraordinary. It was... a dragon. Kota clutches his charm. Why, he has red scales, a shade darker than blood. So you have seen him. The man hems and haws for a long moment, scratching his beard as he loses himself in deep thought. Kota holds his breath, his gaze locked onto Jean until the man finally lets out a gusty sigh. I've come across many, shall we say, unique things across my travels. Few things can hope to surprise me. But I'm sorry. I wish I could help you, but I haven't run into anything like that. Oh. Well, I suppose it was a long shot. Thank you very much for your company, Jean-San. Good luck with your delivery. The dragon turns to follow the road, not looking back to Jean, as always, until the man calls out. Although, when Kota looks at the man, Jean is combing his fingers through his short beard. He hesitates for a moment, though getting his thoughts together, and then nods. Yeah, it should be around here somewhere. Oh, what should? Oh, sorry, my friend. There's a hotel around these parts that just recently reopened. I was wondering if you wouldn't be able to find what you're looking for there. A hotel? Yes, I heard a few stories about that place. Suppose it used to be the gathering place for an assortment of... unique individuals and things. I'm sure there are a few travellers there already, people like you and me who are wandering around from place to place. I might not know where this thing is you're looking for is, but maybe one of them will. Kota considers the man's words. They ring true and it would at least be a start, a better one than he's had in at least a century. Well, I will not know until I try, will I? Arigato gozaimasu, Jean-san. Sorry if I mangled that. I don't speak Japanese. The dragon gives Jean a loud bow, and the man laughs and waves the gesture away. Oh, it's the least I can do for a fellow traveller. Good luck, Kota, and I hope that you find what you're looking for. The two part ways. Jean to complete his delivery and Kota continue following the road wherever it will take him. His eyes are on the horizon, the spot where Jean pointed when he mentioned the hotel. Perhaps there is someone there who'll be able to help him, someone who can give him some kind of lead or point him in the right direction to find what he's been seeking. Or maybe, like so many times before, Kota will find himself disappointed. They say it's not the destination that matters but the journey. In his long years of wandering, the dragon has grown envious of those who are able to believe those words. However, as he follows the road, Kota finds a renewed spring in his step. A small smile curls his lips, and once more the rumbling of a hummed tune joins the sounds of nature filling the air around him. His heart feels light, lighter than it has in centuries, lighter than it's ever been ever since it first felt the scarring, searing pain of his loss. Perhaps this is hope, he thinks. Hope for the long-awaited end of his journey. Hot. So hot. But not the heat he's been craving. This is dry, lifeless. This land is cursed. The dragon trudges along the side of the highway, tongue lolling from his open mouth like a panting dog's. His supply of bottled water ran dry long ago, and now the sweat is completely dried from both his yukata and his brow, leaving the desolation of the desert around him to seep into his bones and his breast. It feels wrong to the dragon, just like slipping into the flowing stream earlier felt right. How long's it been since he left Jean behind? It swims away, a fish darting just out of reach of his fingers. He was there in the forest, and now he is here in the desert. And there, looming on the horizon, is the hotel the man told him about. It rises up from the other side of a hill, looking almost out of place in the sandy expanse stretching towards the horizon in every direction. The star is one that Kota hasn't seen in quite a long while, and the disrepair the building is in is readily apparent even from this distance. It wasn't like the dragon was expecting a bustling hub, with polished and shiny doors never having a chance to swing closed around the tide of travellers making their way in and out. The place looks about as desolate as the surrounding desert. Still, Kota is here, and while the sight before him makes his heart sink just the smallest bit, the dragon still trudges onward. Down the sandy hill, working the sharp rock out of his sandal with his toes as he goes. Along the road, feeling the heat of the blacktop against the scales of his legs, curving slightly as he follows the driveway into the parking lot. Forward, forward, always forward. Kota struggles to make his way up the steps of the building's front door as the fatigue of his journey begins to set in. He has to stop, leaning against the wall to catch his breath. Up close, the hotel looks at least a little better. The dragon can see the places where effort has been made to patch up the worst of the wear. The repairs look very recent. Someone has to be here. With a final deep breath, Kota pushes the door open. Hello? The dragon barely recognises his own voice, as dry and dusty as it is. He coughs, hacking and gasping and swallowing to wet his throat, and then tries again. Hello? Sir, are you all right? Before Kota can answer, another coughing fit rocks his weary body. He feels a presence rush forward to wrap an arm around his back, and the dragon is led forward into the cool hotel lobby. His host lowers him into a chair. The world blinks for a moment, then a glass of water is pushed into Kota's hand. Kota haphazardly bows in gratitude for opening his maw wide to gulp down the cold liquid. It's not much, but that little bit of moisture settles into and revitalizes the dragon. He swallows, holds the glass out to be taken by a large, fur-covered hand, and looks up at his host.
Please pardon my intrusion and forgive my shameful display. Oh, it is no trouble. I'm happy to offer assistance.
Oh, thank you. The dragon takes a slow, deep breath, and then another, and another. The soreness settles into his weary limbs, fading slightly as it spreads through his body. Kota takes the opportunity to look around the hotel lobby, examining both the room and the hotel's apparent owner.
Pardon me. Welcome to the hotel, sir. I'm Asterion, the keeper of this fine establishment. The master is otherwise occupied at the moment, but I'd be happy to introduce you later. But now, please let me know if there's anything I can do for you, or any questions that I can answer.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Asterion. I've heard about your hotel opening, and I wish to see it for myself. And I must say, I am pleased. I've never seen a Minotaur in my life. I travelled all around the globe, seen all sorts of beings. But I always thought Minotaurs were only a legend. This place truly must be special for such a rare specimen to be here. Although... The dragon looks around the empty lobby. The half-man, half-bull keeper seems to be able to easily read Kota's expression and offers him another low bow.
Oh yes, the hotel reopened just recently. We've only just started accepting guests. In fact, it's embarrassing to say, but you are among our first in a long while. Regardless, you are welcome to stay for as long as you'd like.
The dragon hums in thought, letting his claws brush through and tug at his beard. The words Jean spoke at their party, which had spurred him on through the trek along the desert road outside, tease against the back of his mind once more. Again he looks around the empty lobby and then up to Asterion's face. Behind his servile facade, the half-man, half-bull looks eager. His hooves clop faintly against the tile as he shifts from one to the other, and an almost childish earnestness flickers behind his polite smile, being no less friendly by the missing half of Asterion's face. The hotel seems about as run down as its keeper, but there's potential there. Hope.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Asterion. I'd be happy to stay for at least a little while. I have very little money, but I would be glad to perform any task you need that would allow me to earn a bed and a hot meal. Well, that won't be necessary, sir. This is our soft opening, so we won't charge you. In fact, we charge very little regularly, so money is not an issue. As long as the hotel is able to fulfill its mission.
Asterion moves to pick the ledger and the pen up off the front desk and brings it over to the dragon.
Just sign here and fill out a little bit of information.
After a few moments of writing, the half-man, half-bull accepts the ledger back from Kota and looks over the new guest's information.
Oh, Mr. Kota, and no surname, born February 2nd, 1615. Well, I must say you're looking very well for your age, sir.
Kota blinks, frowns, holds his hand out for the ledger.
Excuse me, may I see that for a moment?
He looks over his writing. Again, a 1/5 day of the first month, exactly the way he'd written it.
Oh, I did not realize you could read Japanese, Mr. Asterion. Japanese, sir?
And that's when it hits Kota. The shape of his tongue as he'd spoken to the Minotaur all this time had seemed strange, and only now does he realise after his coughing fit he'd switched to his native language without realising it. And yet Asterion's been able to understand him. In fact, the half-man, half-bull didn't even seem to realise that Kota was speaking another language. How?
I see. I understand now. Don't be alarmed, sir. It is just a quirk of the hotel. It allows us to understand all of the guests that pass through our doors, no matter what country they hail from or language they choose to speak. I myself am from the Mediterranean, far away from here, so you can rest assured that all guests are welcome, no matter where they come from. I should also add, I can see you are a dragon. Enchantments do not work here, but worry not, that is allowed here. All who are lost are welcome. A place for wanderers indeed.
I see. The dragon stands and offers Asterion a deep bow of his own. If what both Jean and this half-man, half-bull said is true, then perhaps this is exactly where Kota needs to be.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Asterion. You honour me with your hospitality.
Asterion moves to set the ledger back on the front desk and returns to Kota with a key. He passes it to the dragon while giving Kota another welcoming smile.
Here is your key, Mr. Kota. If you would like, I can show you to your room. I hope that you have an enjoyable stay with us.
It's been an hour or so since Asterion left the lounge. The Minotaur led you back to the hotel's hearth to check in on it. Everything seemed to be in working condition. You both did the rounds and inspected the hotel. The rooms, the stairways, the lobby, every lamp and switch and door you could find. Some of the walls were still cracked, windows were smashed and there was water damage here and there. The sight displeased Asterion, but the hotel seemed to be repairing itself at an impressive rate. You both stopped at the lounge to take a break and celebrate a job well done. Asterion served your favourite drink again and, with your permission, took a glass of wine himself. After a brief chat, you checked the time only to notice your phone's battery was long dead. The hotel has power now. You wished for a socket to plug your phone in, and after a blink it materialised before you. Asterion was eager to resume the inspection. You were enjoying the break, so you let him continue without you. The time alone proved beneficial. So much has happened in the last few days. Meeting the old man, finding the hotel and the Minotaur inside, the altercation with Argos. After a drink and some time you didn't feel as overwhelmed. All the craziness seemed to be under control. You check in on your phone after spending a couple of hours in an armchair by the hearth. It had barely charged 3% of the battery. It probably won't remain on for more than a minute. As you head back to the couch to sit down, you hear a sound that has grown familiar to you over these past few days. Asterion's hooves clopping towards him.
Good afternoon, Master.
Hello, Asterion. Are you done with your inspection?
Well, I had to cut it short. I didn't want to disturb you, but I have very good news.
Asterion walks up to you at a brisk and excited pace and hands you the ledger. He stands there waiting for you to open it. He shifts his weight from hoof to hoof, and his tail swishes back and forth in unison with his flicking ears.
Kota. Just Kota, huh?
Wait a second, 1615?
Well, I was born many centuries ago as well, Master. Generally our guests are human, but not all of them.
I'm still getting used to it, Asterion. Well, I have to see this myself now. You look like a kid on Christmas Eve, you know.
Please excuse me, Master, I just haven't had guests in so long.
Well, I can't wait to meet this guy. I'm intrigued. You thinking he's in his room now?
I suppose so, yes. I'd rather not disturb the guests, but this is a special occasion, isn't it? Or perhaps this one time.
You're about to head to the new guest's room when you hear footsteps approaching the lounge. The footsteps are slow and even, carefully measured as though the one approaching is taking his sweet time to take in his surroundings. They're accompanied by a faint sound, keeping time with each step. A quiet, simple tune hummed in a deep, rumbling voice. The melody is like the flowing of a stream, steady and constant. When your first guest arrives at the lounge, his eyes are already wandering up and down to catch the grandeur and lingering decay of the place. He seems to be lost in thought as he examines the leather couches, the hearth, the tables and chairs. It's only when Asterion clears his throat with a polite cough the dragon seems to realise that you're there.
I trust the accommodations are to your liking, Mr. Kota.
Ah, Mr. Asterion,
They are indeed. Thank you. Forgive me, I was just looking around.
It's all right. Go on and make yourself at home. The dragon, Mr. Kota, looks over to you as you speak up. He offers you a low bow and a polite smile.
Well, thank you very much for the hospitality. I take it you're the master that Mr. Asterion mentioned at check-in?
Yes, I'm the owner. I'm Leo. The dragon's smile widens. He gives you another shallower bow while shaking your hand with a firm grip.
It is an honour, Master Leo.
Yeah. Asterion clears his throat again, gaining the dragon's attention once more.
Is there anything I can get for you at this time, Mr. Kota? A meal or a drink, perhaps?
Oh, no, thank you very much. But as I said, I am just looking around right now. Perhaps later.
Well, very well. And if I may be so bold as to ask, what do you think of our fine hotel so far?
It's nice. A little more run down I had pictured, and I would have thought there'd be already be guests. But I suppose that's what I get for getting my hopes up.
I see.
The Minotaur tries to keep his face neutral. You can tell that Kota's words have cut deep. The hotel is Asterion's pride and joy. To have it criticised by the first guest in years like that must hurt. Well, hey, it's a work in progress. You should have seen how it looked when I first got here. What I mean is, we're working on it, and once we get the place completely cleaned up, I think you'll be amazed. Well, despite how things look now, I can tell this was once a grand place. Oh, I can see the beauty of it even under all the dust and decay. Although if it's just the two of you, then I imagine it'll take quite a while to restore its former glory. But there are no other staff here. It may surprise you, but Asterion and I can get a lot done. Still, yes, we are looking for people willing to join our staff. Asterion, can you tell Mr. Kota how things worked here back then?
Yes. Before issues arose with the previous manager, it was quite common for guests to choose to remain here indefinitely. Most didn't have anywhere else to go, you see, and we can pay reasonably well. Or we should soon enough, seeing as the hotel does not aim to generate profits. And the guests who join our staff get to enjoy all the hotel's facilities for as long as they want, free of charge.
Indeed. The dragon begins brushing his claws through his long beard, looking from you to Asterion and back again. Finally, a spark of resolve shines in his eyes. Mr. Asterion, back when I checked in, I offered my services in exchange for being allowed to stay. If you two are in need of staff, then I'd be happy to help in any way that can repay the hospitality you two have shown me.
I've worked many odd jobs over my years of travelling, and have gained a variety of skills.
Cooking, cleaning, a few years of doing manual labour. I may not look it. The dragon pats the round, firm rides of his belly with a laugh. But my body is solid. I even spent a few months as a bartender back 20 years ago? 30? Speaking honestly, I enjoyed that job the most. The conversations with others, tales swapped and secrets divulged to be kept in confidence. Finding the right drink for your customer, the one that would soothe their worries and help to ease their burdens, at least for the little time they spent at the counter. The dragon's expression grows pensive and his gaze distance. When you glance over to Asterion, you see a similar look in the Minotaur's eyes as he lets out a thoughtful hum. The moment is broken as Kota shakes himself out of his reverie. He gives you a rueful smile. Oh, forgive me, I get lost in reminiscence sometimes. My point is that I can do anything you need of me. I'm happy to help. You can feel Asterion's eyes on you. When you glance at the bull, you see him silently begging for your permission to speak. If you have something to say, then go ahead, Asterion.
Very well, Master Leo. The lounge could use the services of a good bartender. Though I can perform the role well enough, I do have other duties as keeper, which come first. Management of the lounge has often been delegated to a suitable guest in the past. I think it would be in good hands with you behind the counter, Mr. Kota.
Well then, that works out perfectly. Oh, in the country of my birth, it was often said that fortune follows in the wake of dragons. Though I cannot benefit from myself, I'm happy to offer it to my gracious hosts. But believe me, we can use all the good luck we can get. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I wanted to ask you something, Mr. Kota. You said earlier that you got your hopes up before coming here. What were you hoping to find? I see nothing gets past you, Master Leo. You say nothing and allow the dragon to gather his thoughts. For years, or centuries now, I've been looking for someone dear to me who was lost a long time ago. I've travelled the entire world searching for him, but so far I haven't had any luck, no matter where I've gone or how many people I've asked. When I heard about this hotel opening, I thought, perhaps there would be someone here who could offer a lead in my search. This hotel is a place for wanderers to gather, is it not? The dragon bows and expression grows blank. However, you can see desperation flash in his eyes for just a moment. The desperation of a man who's come so close to his goal, only to have the rug pulled out from him under him time and time again. If you will allow me to stay here to speak with the other guests and hear their tales of wandering, Perhaps I will find the lead I've been searching for. And you plan to leave once you found it? Again the dragon's eyes flash. Will I be allowed to?
Of course, this hotel was not meant to be a prison. For the guests, at least. You'll be free to leave once you've found what you're looking for, Mr. Kota. Or whenever you so wish, naturally.
I don't plan to disappear in the middle of the night if that worries you. I'll be sure to make arrangements so my departure doesn't inconvenience you. I don't know how long it'll be before I find what I'm looking for anyway. Until that time comes, I may as well do my part as your guest, right? Again, you take a look at Asterion. Looks like the Minotaur's already made up his mind about taking Kota on as staff.
The hotel's mission is to take in those who are lost. Going by what you've told us tonight, it would seem you fit the bill. Are you willing and ready to uphold the hotel's mission and bow to the owner's authority?
How formal. I haven't heard a contract of service put in quite that way in centuries. It makes me feel nostalgic. As long as I am free to pursue my own agenda, then yes. For the duration of my stay in the hotel, I will happily serve in any way that I can.
Well, Sir Leo, with your command I can have it all arranged. What say you? Seeing as Mr. Kota swore our oath already, all you need to say is, Mr. Kota, hereby you are taken into this hotel as staff to fulfill its mission and to serve as manager of the lounge.
Fancy, huh? Very well. Kota, hereby you're taken on as staff as this hotel to fulfill its mission and work as manager of the lounge. You offer your handshake. Kota takes your hand in both of his and once again gives you a low bow. His smile is placid, but his eyes are shining with an earnest light you hadn't noticed when you first met the dragon. The lights in the hotel shift for a second right after you both let go of each other's hand. Oh, what was that?
Oh, worry not, Mr. Kota. It is just another quirk of the hotel. As you've been taken on as the staff member in charge of the lounge, you're hereby given free authority to shape it as you please. I have fond memories of this lounge's current layout, but the labyrinth has always shifted its appearance throughout the years. Maybe it's time to give it an update. Well, it could look more modern. In truth, I can appreciate the way it looks. It's a thing of beauty, even as it is now. He runs his clawed hand over the bar top. Again, the softly hummed tune rumbles in his throat. Old and new, something that appeals to traditional sensibility and yet is welcoming to all types. Mr. Kota?
Forgive me, I was lost in reminiscence again. I was thinking about the bar I used to work in. Would it be stepping beyond my bounds to give the lounge a personal touch?
Please, feel free.
In that case, I think I have a few ideas you may like. One by one, the lights flicker as you approve Kota's requests. It looks to you to gauge your reaction to each change as well as Asterion's. Let's add a little more light, yes? Oh, but keep the dark wood. In fact, do you mind if we make it a little darker? Some more seating would be nice, here and here. Oh, this area around the hearth would be perfect.
Please, Mr. Kota, my only request is that you don't alter that area too much.
Alright, how about over here then? Kota continues to add his own personal touch to the lounge. Lamps in the shape of paper lanterns hanging over the bar counter, traditional Japanese artwork on the walls, intricately folded napkins at every table. By the time you're done, the old lounge has turned into a brightly lit restaurant that strikes a delicate balance between traditional and modern. Kota continues to examine every detail. It seems like he won't be satisfied until everything is exactly perfect. Asterion looks around, a thoughtful expression on the Minotaur's own face.
It looks
amazing. Good work, Mr. Kota.
Oh, please, I suppose I'm to be staying here for a while, then just Kota will be alright.
In that case, just Leo and Asterion will be alright for us.
Deal.
Well, now I think this place is looking much better already. Warm, welcoming. If you don't mind me saying it, already feels like someplace I could call a home, at least for the time being.
A home. Well, that sounds good to me. How about we have a drink to celebrate? We can tell you more about how things work around here and how they will work once we start getting more guests.
Kota goes over the counter, grabs a beer mug and returns to you.
Alright, I'll whip something up, shall I? I look forward to working with the both of you, Asterion, Leo. Cheers.
So we have our first guest. We're going to leave things there for this video. The next one will take things up to the end of the current update. And that will be it. So, as I say, there's a few more different videos coming up. That one pretty well considering. So, going to try and get a few more done. Of course, with everything going on, the current brouhaha, I have more time on my hands at the moment. So, I will try to get some more videos and things done up for you. Hopefully, they will help. But until the next one, wherever that is, bye for now.